And we are live.
Welcome. This is Gulf Manor, Village of Gulf Manor meeting, Executive Committee, Monday, April 11th. Do I have a call to order, Mr.?
Yes. Mr. Fisher, Mr. Knipp.
Here.
Mr. Marks.
Here.
Mr. Simile.
Here.
Mr. Van Haar.
Here.
We'll need a motion to excuse Mr. Fisher.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, I trust everybody's had a chance to review the agenda. We have, let's see, not on this meeting. Any changes or suggestions for tonight? Okay, motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, nobody is registered to address us tonight. So I trust everybody's had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting. Any changes? I haven't heard anything. More thoughts on that?
I'm fine with them.
Motion to approve.
Motion. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll sign those. Okay, for new business, I guess we have, I'm not sure what his name was, Rich, you said?
Yeah, this is Rich Suris, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Energy Alliance. Did I get that right? Yes, I did. Chief Operating Officer. And I asked Rich to come here this evening to talk a bit about the volatility of the aggregation markets and pricing. We're due to renew our natural gas contract, which ends, I believe, at the end of June. And we're seeing increases of 50%, could even be more. And Rich is going to explain a little bit to us about our position. Council last week last time approved legislation so we can act quickly when Energy Alliance determines that we need to do so to secure a good rate. So Rich, it's all yours.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody, for giving me a chance to speak to the council, and appreciate you allowing me to do it virtually. I am in Columbus right now. I'm actually going to talk to the city of Worthington, also a customer of ours, in about an hour. So again, I appreciate you letting me do this virtually. As it was stated, the current aggregation program with Constellation New Energy does expire in June at the rate of 39.6 cents. So that will be on residents' bills, through May. As in the last bill that they'll see that price on, it is in June. So we have been looking for quite some time on what to do for renewal, and obviously we had reached out to Mr. Hurth to try to talk about opportunity, right, where we saw the market and where things were. And at the time, we had asked to try to set in, at least give authority to set a price not to exceed 56 cents for a term not to exceed 24 months. When we started this process with communities back really at the start of March, and historically we have looked into the Gulf Manor with about 23 other communities to try to find the best pricing. Things look good. They looked really good. We had to kind of get to a point with all of these communities where we had enough volume that we were able to lock in the pricing where it was at. And even though you guys were a little bit later in the month, we think we saw an opportunity to lump you guys in with everybody else who had meetings earlier into March and into the middle of March. So the idea was we were actually going to, once we hit that threshold for volume with the communities we had, we were actually going to look to execute on March 21st. The 22nd. The plan was to start calling people on the 22nd when we had closed business on the 21st. When we came in the morning of the 22nd, the market had risen almost 3% and has just almost continually climbed since then for natural gas. So, for a lot of communities, getting back to that 56 cents was just not something that was going to happen. So with the market continuing trying to climb, and obviously with a June start, it came down to what do we do, right? Because there were some communities, again, based off that 56 cents, they could not execute. So the volume that we needed to kind of get there started to fall off. And then there were some folks, like you, that didn't even have a meeting yet up to that point to even be able to move forward. So, it got to a point where the market has risen and is still pretty high. But, in talking about intercalated energy alliances, we felt trying to lock in and still move for a June start of the new program, it no longer made sense, right? Because the highest prices are really for the next 6 to 7 months, as we start to get into the first half of next year. So by keeping the program going, really for the summer, we're forcing ourselves to lock into the high prices. And when we looked at what does 2023, 2024, 2025, what do those look like? And right now, those prices, they're at, statistically the 100th percentile, which means the highest those prices have ever been for those months. So if we said to you, hey, we should lock in right now, well, we're statistically saying buy the high. and I think all of us, when you look at making investments, you don't ever want to buy the high. So, we made the suggestion that we think all the communities should go back to Duke temporarily. So we'll let the program expire in June and have Constellation send the accounts back to Duke and have people pay Duke's default rates for the summer months. And the reason for that is, again, that the prices that we were starting to see as the market rose, I did not feel as comfortable locking into those. And then, so what's the backstop? Well, it's always going to be against Duke's rates. So now, why not send people back to Duke's rates, at least for the summer, when volume is really low? So for the months of July, August, September, and maybe even the start of October, the average resident uses only 7% of their natural gas during those 4 months. So if we're going to take on any kind of financial risk to see how the market moves, if it wants to give us anything back, let's do it when volume is very low. So, we had, Mr. Earth and I, we had talked, and, we're making suggestion, and every community we've talked to is taking the same stance to let the program lapse in June, let the Constellation send all of the accounts back, and then we'll just continue to watch the market and try to get something in for the fall. I didn't know we pause it, and I feel almost 100% certain we're going to want to do something before winter. Right. I think that the big thing about the aggregation is to try to protect the residents during, let's call it November to March, when they're using really all of their gas. So the idea that would be, really sometime between now, we'll say, and August 12th, we would look to sign a contract. And AEP Energy was the supplier we were looking at. We do a fair amount of business with them on the electric side. And felt very comfortable moving forward with them on the gas side. Constellation's pricing was just not nearly as competitive as where it should have been or where we had hoped it would be. So again, looking to kind of take a break, at least for the summer, but that doesn't mean we won't sign a contract, sooner than later if the market wants to give us back anything to try to lock in prices for a start, let's say late fall, to try to protect residents for the winter. So that's kind of where we are right now. And I was actually on the phone with AEP today while I'm here in Columbus. This is where their offices are. I'm going to meet with them tomorrow morning because we're continually talking about kind of the next, plan A was to lock in something, keep it going in June. Plan B was to, hey, send the residents back, watch the market, see if it wants to give us anything back at all, and then look to lock in something for the winter before usage starts to pick up. I've said a lot of words rather quickly in a short period of time, so I will pause to allow you to ask questions.
Rich, one question here is as we elect to let this current program expire and then join something new in the fall when hopefully the prices are down, what will the residents see on their bill? Do you have an idea of what Duke Energy is going to report to them?
Yeah, so right now, well, I guess let's talk about a little bit about the process of what's going to happen. So assuming that Constellation starts to drop the accounts sometime in May, so sometime between, let's say, May 15th and the end of June, residents who are currently on the program, they will get a letter from Duke saying that Constellation is no longer their supplier. So that'll be the first thing, right? We are finalizing a message right now. I hope to have that to you sometime this week. If not, well, I'm hoping by Wednesday to sort of share like, hey, these are the talking points. Again, putting it on us, right? We are a consultant. Here's why we made these suggestions, and then what to kind of expect over the next few weeks to few months. So we'll give you those. So again, you can put them on your website, social media, newsletter, however it is, so that we can get ahead of this. Let's call it 4 to 6 weeks in advance of people getting these letters. Now, as far as Duke and how that changes on their bills, well, right now there's a line item that has Constellation for again those that are on the program. A line item that has Constellation and their price listed there. That would go away, and then that would get replaced by Duke's gas cost recovery. So that's Duke's standard rates. They're not cheap right now. I'm sorry, I see my video is a little bit scrambly, so hopefully you guys at least still hear me. Their rates are not cheap. It's going to be 85 cents in April. It looks like it's going to be about $1 for May. There are some components of that I do expect to kind of roll off as we head into the summer. So, prices are still pretty high, but I think it should give a little bit back just for the fact that there are some components of that price that roll off, and then we should see some cheaper things there. But yeah, regardless of the aggregation or Duke, the prices are going to be higher. But it's more this idea that the aggregation is supposed to be a fixed price alternative to Duke's variable rates. And if we lock in now, where the market is, I have serious concerns that after this upcoming winter, that this program would fall underwater very quickly. That's my biggest concern. So I don't like to say that we're going to send people back to Duke and risk paying a higher rate. They're going to pay higher rates regardless of what it is. But I think, when we go through this process and look, to you as elected officials and administration, I think you get yelled at a lot less if people have to pay Duke's default rates than if we get them in a bad deal with the aggregation, right? Because Duke's the default service and price anyway. So again, what they'll see on those prices in the fall, I don't know just yet because it's a variable rate. Right? We're going to have to watch this market. But that's also where we're going back to saying if we were to take some financial risk, let's do it when people use only 7% of their natural gas because the multiplier is so low.
So Rich, one other process question. So we sign a contract sometime in the next couple of months rejoining the aggregation program. What does the re-enrollment look like for our residents?
Yeah, so just similar, no different than 3 years ago when we started the gas, or I think you guys renewed on your electric a year and a half ago. People would get an opt-out letter, right? So everybody who is eligible for the program would get an opt-out letter from the supplier. I assume we're still going to stick with AEP Energy. So we've kind of been through this process before with either commodity, and every time there's a price change. So every eligible account would get a letter stating what's the price, what's the term. They would have a 21-day window to opt out if they didn't want to take the price or the terms and conditions. And then anybody who did not opt out at that point would be in the program or would get enrolled into the program. We're going to stick with the same game plan as we have for all these years, no termination fees. So, if people get in the program and they decide they don't want to be in, they can get out with no termination fees, just like they can enroll at a future time at the same price that was being offered on day one. So again, structurally, it will be very similar to the program that's in place now and what's rolling off.
Okay.
I have one question.
Since we didn't identify ourselves when you ask your question, could you say who you are and what you do? Please, that'd be great.
My name is Roger Van Harn. I'm one of the council members. I don't need a long drawn out explanation, but are there like a top 2 or 3 things that you guys will say, okay, now it's time, like we see this in the market or whatever else? Just very simple. When will you know it's time to say, okay, it's time to sign this contract with whoever we're going to do this with?
Yeah, so I think that window is actually coming up pretty soon, right? So typically this time of year, the market eases up a little bit because again, for natural gas, right? The concern of winter is over, but then the concern of summer and use for natural gas for generation is not there yet. So what I'm looking for right now is for winter to be over. Right now it's still seasonable today, but it looks like cold weather is going to come back. forecast into this week and next week actually look below normal for this time of year. So we're kind of coming out of the season at the lowest gas storage levels that we have in a while, in several years. So I think the market is still a little bit antsy on, hey, we're getting into the third week of April here pretty soon, and it's slow to start putting gas into storage. So so that's what I'm going to be looking for. Is this market going to finally give us some indication that winter's over and take a little bit off of that price? But honestly, gentlemen, I think that window is going to be very small, right? The further we head into April or even May, that window of time becomes very small because we all live in the Midwest. We know we can go from 30 to 90 very quickly. So if spring doesn't start to show up, summer's here, and we'll run out of time. So I think I've meeting with AP and other groups tomorrow, kind of talk through this, but I feel like they're going to give us something back a little bit, right, a little window, and that's what I think we'll look to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Do any of our guests have questions for Mr. Suris?
Do we know how many of I arrived late. I'm Mayor Densmore. I arrived late to this meeting. I apologize if this was already answered. Do we know what percentage of our residents are currently on this program?
We do. I don't have that in front of me. I actually wrote that out. It's on a piece of paper on my desk, on my coffee table at home. I will get that over to Mr. Hurth first thing tomorrow morning. What that is. I can tell you how many accounts we would have expected to enroll if we did this in June, how many are currently on the program, and break that down for you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep. But I guess off the cuff, I would ballpark it at roughly 70%. We'll say that, and I'll verify that tomorrow. But that's about what we usually see, in the communities is somewhere between 60 to 70% enrollment in the aggregation programs.
So Rich, one quick question. My understanding is that if a resident has signed a specific contract with another energy company, our aggregation program does not opt them out of that program. They have to request to get out of it. And the reason I say that is because that is something that I had done when we first started this. We remained in our previous program for a couple of years. And then I believe your associate had helped me cancel that. So is that true for anyone who has signed a contract with another company?
That is correct. According to Ohio law, if somebody is currently with another supplier, they are not eligible for the program. And it's actually a safeguard for them. Nobody knows the terms and conditions that somebody had accepted. So the law says that that account is not eligible for the opt-out because let's say they have even if the aggregation price is better, let's say they have $100 termination fee, and you would send them a letter and they would get opted in. Well, then they may be liable for that. So again, Ohio law says anybody currently shopping with another supplier would not be eligible for the aggregation program. They would need to cancel with that supplier before they can get into the program.
Gotcha. Thank you. Any other questions? Rich, did you have any closing remarks?
I guess the other thing is, we're dealing with the market has dealt us right now. I've been doing this almost 20 years. I've never remember the market being this volatile in the spring for that. So again, we've made this recommendation. You guys are not alone. That over 20 communities are sort of following the same path. We feel comfortable at this time that it's the right thing for you to do. It's probably oversharing, but we'll say that we send your customers back to Duke, we make no money, right? So we're not doing this because it benefits us. We're doing this because it's the right thing to do for you and your residents. So we'll continue to watch this market, look for an opportunity to lock in prices for the winter, and then do our absolute best to protect the residents' finances during the winter time when that's definitely when they're spending their most money on natural gas.
Great. Well, we appreciate your work on behalf of our residents and the relationship that we've had with you. So I would note that whenever we have residents who want to get into the muddy details of the negotiations and stuff, Energy Alliance answers those questions for us. Because obviously we are not doing the negotiation or the details about some of these things. So they've been very helpful in dealing with that for us. And we thank you.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
helps
thank
us
you.
answer questions from residents when if they bring this up to us about their bills. So.
Rich, thank you. Have a safe trip back to Cincinnati. Enjoy your next meeting.
Thank you, and I will get you those numbers tomorrow morning.
Thank you. And we'll get those to Mayor Dinsmore. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Have a good night.
You too.